this manna might. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do? Back in the house. Happy New Year. The On Your Mark Show 2025 is back, man. Want to say what's up to everybody, man. We hadn't seen y'all in a few weeks. Merry Christmas. Everything that's been going on. Now we back in effect, man. It's January. It's the off season for us. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get that started. Of course, we're powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play out, compete. Off season means camps and 7-on-7 for those guys that participate and get it done. Got one of my guys in the building. I'm about to start hitting the road. He's going to be hitting the road. Dedication and Respect Sportz, DR7, the big Road to the Crown kickoff in Houston this weekend, 18th and 19th in the Houston area. Got my guy Johnathan Mumphrey in the building with me this morning, man. Mump, how you doing?
I'm good, Mark, man. I'm honored to be here again, man. And, thank you for the invite. Happy New Year to everyone. We're just super excited about getting the Road to the Crown, the season kicked off in 2025. Just continue to see the growth of the sport, and so we're super excited. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. The growth of the sport is one of the big things we'll talk about, but everybody wants to know about exposure, and these are some of the things and topics we're going to cover today. I think the 7-on-7 model has a unique exposure piece, that, if you would, and we're one of those circuits. One of those companies, along with the platform as well. That's what we do. Right. But let's backtrack a little bit. Talk about what was the genesis of, for people that don't know about Dedication and Respect Sportz first, and then we'll talk about the DR7 model as well.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so the whole point, in 2017, God called me to help bring exposure to athletes. I didn't know what the vision really was. I just felt like I heard a voice that said, hey, you need to help these kids get to college. And that's been the whole push behind why which is my business partner, but my wife, Lenice, is do what we do. Been through a couple of different iterations of that vision. But we got to DR Sportz, Dedication and Respect Sportz, in 2022 when we launched it. It really signify everything that we was looking to do, and that mission is, and what was and is today, is to bring exposure to these athletes in many different ways. Definitely on the football field. I think that's where everybody's looking for that. But I think it's about exposure in life. How do you get better? So that's kind of been our mission and the driving force behind the DR Sportz company in its many different verticals. Is to how do we help these athletes and these families gain exposure and knowledge in that scouting, recruiting, or is that in financial literacy and mental health? I mean, how do you really help and build a community that you're about helping and serving the people in the right way?
Absolutely. Now, Dedication and Respect Sportz, I think, says it all. You're dedicated. You want to do everything with respect.
Yes.
Talk about that and, the message that you try to send.
Well, the great thing about it is, and we'll talk about our event vertical with DR7, which has been our flagship product since 2022. It takes a lot of time and effort, and you got to be dedicated to do this because, I know a lot of people they look at it to just jump into the thing to make money. They see the gate, they see all those different things, but they don't see the hours that is dedicated from all of our team members. It ain't just us thinking about how do we make it better for each guest that come through or anybody that deal with us. And so that's where the dedication is. Lenice runs our operation. I think it's a 24/7 for she and I. So you have to be dedicated if you want to build a great product. You really want to be about serving the customer. And and then we do that because we respect people's time. We respect their energy. We respect why they come to a DR7 event. We want them to feel comfortable. We want the environment to be safe and professional. So, I think that's what sums us up as a company in those two words, dedication and respect. But we live it every day. And it ain't just Lanice and I, it's our kids. I mean, Lex and Landon, they're dedicated. They're always trying to figure out things. And then it's our staff, yourself. And it's a lot of sacrifice that go on to put on a DR7 event or anything dealing with DR Sports. And so we just want people to know and understand that we just don't pop out and just throw things out. We it's a lot of thought and a lot of care to go in everything we do from a dedication standpoint.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just our fourth season going into DR7, the road to the crown. I think last year kind of set it off. It was one of those things where, it just really kind of took off and elevated across the country. Talk about last year and the build up to this year.
Well, just kind of give a high-level overview of what we're doing, and then we're definitely, when you look at DR Sports, and we definitely talk about our flagship product all the time, and we'll get into more of the other verticals, but, our event vertical is we have a lot of different brands that will be coming out, a lot of different things, focusing on how do we help these athletes be better, and I know we'll get into it, and then, our media, and then our platform, what you guys do, and now we're working on some educational stuff for our families, but DR7 we've been really blessed to build some great traction in the space. It's been a growth year for 3 years.
Right.
2022 we had the largest national championship in Florida. It was 117 teams.
Right.
And to go back to back in Texas with 180 teams, that's a blessing, man. Everybody don't do that.
Right.
But when you look at the teams, they flew in from everywhere.
Right.
We had Florida, we had Missouri, we had all people coming in from all over, and definitely Texas, Louisiana, and we had Georgia, Alabama, our drivable states. People come in because it comes back to those two words, dedication and respect. They know that when they bring their families, that we're going to put on the best event that we can possibly be in. But,
Right.
The great thing about being dedicated is you're always continuing to improve.
Right.
How do we improve in, just our gate? I mean, our check-in process. How do we do that? And
Right.
so that's what we spent a lot, through this past, which is our off season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fall, trying to figure out, okay, how do we be better?
Right.
We want to make sure the apparel is better. We want to make sure, hey, our scouts are doing what they need to do, and our media team is bringing some new stuff. So we're always continue to figure out how do we bring a value for people, what people are paying for.
Right.
I think that's what people are always looking for. The old saying, you pay for what you get. So
Right.
we want to give you more than what your fee is.
Right. Well, I think, we're kind of going where we're going now with the value piece. We talk about the dedication and respect sports, and, we talk about the different verticals or different avenues. And one aspect that's really key is the media side. You know what I'm saying? And we'll talk about what the platform does. You've heard me talk about the platform if you've been watching the show religiously the last 2.5 years. It's about exposing the unexposed. And I think that the message that Dedication and Respect Sports and DR7 together, merging with what the platform brings, is what you're going to get when you come to a DR7 event. Correct. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so, once again, the platform came from, God just speaking. I was at church on a Sunday, and we've been talking about, how do we, really truly bring exposure to these athletes. And,
Right.
Two words came up on the screen. Expose the unexposed, and that was a Bible scripture. That was his message that Sunday. And and then we was in a team meeting in the platform. Why not put them on a platform and expose the unexposed?
Shout out to my guy Adam.
Adam came up with that in that meeting. So it's always a team effect. So when you look at the sporting industry, and we're gonna dig into this thing. Let's dig into it and really talk about some truths. When you look at it, and I'm not being disrespectful to the names I'm gonna say, but let's just call it facts. Let's just talk facts. You have great brands out there that's built where they are today. 247, On 3, Rivals, but who died and made them God? Who died and made them that they're the last stop that they can only find athletes.
Right.
And when I look at those brands, and as I've gotten into space and begin to understand how the star rating system and all the recruiting happen,
Right.
When you look at a lot of these companies, they only really focus on the 0.5 to 1% of the athletes.
Right.
But what about the athlete that's dogging them every weekend?
Absolutely.
And that's where the unexposed come from.
Right.
Let's find those we're a grassroots platform.
Right.
But we coming. We're a grassroots platform. I mean, our guys is on the field every weekend year round.
Right.
So understand that our platform guys are not just 7-on-7 camp guys.
Right.
Like there's some guys out there, that's what they do.
Right.
But they're Friday night guys. They're at a Friday night game. You at a Friday night game somewhere at the Duncanvilles, at the Sock. You somewhere.
Yeah.
Our guys in Houston, and we're continuing to go and expand that brand. Our Florida guys, our guy in Florida, Drew. Shout out to Drew.
Absolutely.
He holds it down. Ben Spice. These guys are working hard, and we do this year round. So what I want the people to understand is, we're the grassroots. We're the first step. We're the first line of defense. We see you first. But don't forget us.
Absolutely.
We're going to expose you. Don't forget us.
Absolutely.
Just because, a guy, got another logo on his chest, supposedly can put you on, but we're the one that expose you.
Right.
So understand what that is. We're going to put you on the platform.
Right.
So when you show up in a 7-on-7 tournament, we want colleges to know that we know these athletes.
Right.
We know where they get a haircut at.
Absolutely.
We know, where mom might go her best restaurant.
Right.
Because you know what? In the day of recruiting and college scholarship, today is about who has the relationship.
Absolutely.
And what we have seen over the years is a lot of those brands come down and, we're going to tag this guy. Now he's a 4 or 5 star. They don't really know him.
Right.
Until they get him in their building.
Right.
But we're invested 10 to 11 weeks at a 7-on-7 tournament.
Right.
Watching guys and seeing their talent. But as you always say, you got to see it in pads.
Absolutely.
We can go in shorts and T-shirts, but you can see the quick twitch. You can see the different things.
Absolutely.
We've identified so many athletes from 10 years old.
Right.
You got Jonah Williams. Hey, Jonah was going to be a stud regardless of who found him.
No doubt.
But we knew Jonah at 10.
Right.
And he's a 5-star baseball player. We used to see him at 10 years old, have his baseball stuff, switch to his 7-on-7 stuff.
No doubt.
So those are athletes that we also help to promote.
Right.
And then they become who they are, because they're going to become who they are.
Absolutely.
But people don't know about them if they just stuck on the field and ain't nobody got a camera, nobody ain't got a pen, or nobody having things. So that's what the platform is about.
Yeah.
And that's why we invest in that.
Right.
We invest in the platform. We fly guys around to these tournaments because we want to be able to connect you to not only, what we saw you do this weekend. We're going to follow you to the camp.
Right.
And when you come to a camp, we're going to want to be able to see, are you translating?
Right.
And then we're going to follow you on Friday night. Are you producing on Friday night? Because it doesn't really matter in these off-season things if you're not producing on Friday night, because that's what the coach is. But what we found, because we're doing it from a professional, elite way, that we do have colleges reaching out to us saying, hey, where's y'all top 10 list? Mm-hmm. Where's that list at? I'm not going to throw the schools out there, but they're reaching out. So understand, when we do a 7-on-7 showcase, it ain't just about out here seeing kids jumping and running around in shorts. We actually got a plan and a strategy to get them to a goal if that's their goal.
Right. Absolutely.
I hope I didn't go to.
No, I mean, we talk about these things all the time. I get asked these questions. How do you get ranked?
Right.
What do you do to get seen? My DMs are full of these kind of questions all week, and it's certain structures or certain avenues that you have to take. This is the off season now. The reason we're talking about this is because I was having a conversation last night with a guy that I know about some kids that they want to know what they need to do. The parents are calling him, so he called me. Right. This is the perfect storm if you do it right. Now let's talk about 7-on-7 as a whole, because people want to know if you can get an offer from 7-on-7. That is not the end all or the thing that determines you getting an offer. It's a part of it if you do it the right way. Yeah. Yeah. And when you come to a DR7 tournament, it's about getting proper reps. Yep. Getting the right coaching. Right. For the most part, when we see these tournaments, it's high-level competition. Yeah. The thing that makes us different is we start from 8 to 18. Yeah. Early identification. Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah. So that's why when we talked as a group, as a company, we wanted to do 8U. is because there are some kids that are what I call flag football. I call that rec football, and the reason I call it rec because you can be a top kid hey, you're just born that way. Some kids are just him when they're born.
Absolutely.
And you make one move in a 5-on-5 setting, you're gone.
Right.
But when you don't have to run the ball, and you got to be able to use your hand-eye coordination. And there's a lot we've seen 7-year-olds throwing this ball 30, 40 yards.
Absolutely.
Well, we know that kid going to translate, and if they keep in that development model, they're going to be our next stars in football.
Right.
And we've seen that, and that's why we did 8U, and that space is growing. A lot of people in this industry are going away from 8U because they think, oh, it didn't get enough team. But it's about the kids. How do we develop these kids as the OGs? How do we develop them? Because a lot of kids ain't doing youth tackle like they used to. And the football game is not a run-first game anymore. And so if it's not that type of game, you have to put them in environments. But let's talk about a national platform. There's a lot of companies say they're national, right? And they stay in Texas.
Right.
How you get national exposure and the only tournament you're doing is in Texas.
Right.
Or you might swing over to Oklahoma or something, But what we're talking about national exposure is we're hitting at least 4 states.
Right.
So, but then those states, I was just talking to a guy, shout out to Lee with Orlando Elite. I was just talking to him this morning, and he's making his team come back to Texas.
Right.
They was just at the national championship, but because he wants to see those 10-year-olds, he's talking about 10-year-olds coming because they want to see different competition. Because guys, understand this: the level of competition you're gonna see at a DR7 event, it's not the same competition your kids gonna see on a Thursday or Friday night. Yeah. So that's how they get better, and that's how they get that exposure. Right. Because they're out there dogging the kids that's in front of them. Right. Because why? They've seen the kids that maybe got with them in the spring. So, reason we did 8U is we want to be able to track that kid all the way through to 18. Right. And then when that kid is ready to commit, come on and let's do it on the platform because we've been identifying, writing about you. You guys write about these 8U kids. Right. And people can say, that don't matter. Well, why it don't?
It does.
Yes.
Well, they have to do something special. It's not that they just throw it up in the air and they do something. They have some intricate, natural traits that come out. Correct. And that's what you want to see. It's about the reps. It's about the coaching. And it's about learning the game. And we can even take it all the way from college to the pros and look at the elevation of the quarterbacks. I was just listening to something about Jaden Daniels from the Washington Commanders. That shout out to my guy. He's, Angelo, my guy behind the scenes is not Redskins, sorry, Commanders fan.
Yeah, you gotta get that right.
I grew up in that era where it was the Redskins, Darryl Green and all of them, But absolutely. You look at his overall ability to come in and play well at a high level early. Goes back to 7-on-7. Yep. It has to. Yep. It translates. If it does not translate, you're doing it wrong.
Yep. And that's exactly where the game happens because playing, I played D1 I played at SMU and we was a run time in the 90s, right? But we always had pass drills, absolutely. And you're seeing these quarterbacks. You can go to the quarterback at Miami. You can go to Jaden, Cam Ward, all these kids, to Shador's, right. All these kids that are coming in and playing early is because they've have the reps, right? 10,000 reps make you great at anything. Yeah. And so it's all about reps, and that's
muscle memory,
right? And I was watching Jaden. I mean, he didn't crack under pressure. No. Because you know what? He got that 4-second clock in his mind. It's in mind, right? He got the 4-second clock, and that's ingrained in him. And that's why he a Heisman Trophy winner because he's repped. I mean, even Travis Hunter, been at some of our tournaments. And, absolutely. And you saw the freakishness in Travis Hunter when he was at the tournament. You know what I'm saying? So I say those names because they're famous. People know them. But if you ain't got that exposure, you have to come and get these reps. And one thing that I would tell you about our platform team. They just ain't out there saying, "Oh, he's a great kid. He did that big catch." His team is really analyzing, your hips. How do you catch the ball, and really coming from a scouting perspective, right? Not just a guy writing an article. And so that's a difference, though. You kind of break that down for us. What's the difference in because I need you to educate me a little bit more on scouting because you hear this word thrown out, right? And just guys that are sports writers. Right.
Well, I think it's all in the description. You have to understand the movement of the body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think you have to really do your homework on that. There's a different language that's spoken, you know, and I learned that over the time and really diving into it and really speaking with scouts. You know, I went to the scouting academy a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So I got a chance to learn some things and just hanging around coaches. You know, I'm a football junkie when it comes to those type of things. You know, I can listen to the Coach Gateses, the Coach Todds, you know, the Coach Samples and those guys like that for hours and just talk ball. Coach Ward. You know, I've been privy to those type of guys in the last few years and covering their teams. But just listening to them talk, you know, I absorb those type of things. And then, you know, when I was a player, I observed those things. You know, my high school coach, I was watching film with him early in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of absorbed those things from a long way back. But getting back to a scouting perspective, I think that's what sets us apart with the platform. You know, yes, we can write that someone threw 5 or 6 touchdowns, or you know, you did this, but if we want to be, you know, bring it to where college coaches can look at this and get an idea of what this guy brings to the table before he gets to pads, this is what you're going to get from the platform. You know, from a guy Nick to Ben, you know, to Pat, to Drew down in Florida, even Adam. You know, then CJ. You know, those guys are doing these things on Friday nights, and so that's what makes it different. You know, you know, I've been around 7-on-7 from when it kind of started to take off. You know, and those were some of the things. It was just really, you know, guys were really playing, but nobody was really covering it to an extent to where they're breaking it down like this. And I think that's the value. You know, people ask or want to know what you get when you come to a DR7 event. That's what you're going to get. You know, I phrased it last year or the year before. You ball, you get the call. You know, if someone's tapping you on the shoulder, you did something special. It's not just coming up to you just to, you know, and the thing about it is the parents need to know about this when they come. This is the reason that you sign up. The reason is you come in to get those good reps. Of course, you know, the media team, shout out to Rico, Jeremy, and all of those guys are going to turn you up. Jawan and those guys are going to turn you with the nice videos. But on top of that, you get the article writing that goes along with it. And, you know, that's one reason we wanted to talk about this today because, you know, the offseason started for those guys that are underclassmen. You know, and when you really talk about underclassmen now when it comes to recruiting, 27, 28, 29, and 30 now.
They
26
about 20, 30.
Well, 26, you know, the top end guys in 26 are already up there. You know, they're kind of making those decisions now. You know, the top tier guys as far as, you know, where they're slotted at. But when recruiting, you know, on those guys are seniors on the recruiting trail now. You know, and the guys behind them and so on. So, you know, if you're a skill guy, you know, and we're going to talk about the lineman piece that's coming along too. If you're in the off season and you're not doing something to better yourself to translate to Friday nights, then you're wasting your time. And then when you come back and you're on the bench, you shouldn't have any questions. Absolutely.
And, you know, one thing I want to come back to that exposure piece too. One thing that I was talking with assistant GM at a college, and one thing he told me, he said when they're looking at athletes in their camps, is their highest peak velocity that they're competing at the highest level is when they do a 7-on-7 Skelly event. And so what that translates to me is that athlete is focused when they're in that environment, and they're exerting every energy. That's why they measure their calisthenics, every energy in that environment. So think about when you got 2 top dudes going against each other and we're playing man-to-man, bump to run. And then when you get on Friday night, you done saw the kid that you know that's going to Oregon and going to Alabama, you done played them and you done scored a couple touchdowns on them. And you got a kid over here that don't even know how to, you know, stance ain't even right. You should be dominating that kid. And so that's why when I see some of these athletes that are being promoted, I'm like, man, I ain't heard their name all day. You know,
absolutely.
But they got these letters or stars by their name, and I'm like, I'm at their game, and I'm like, you should be dominating these kids that you've been tapped to be better than them, and you're not. And so, but that's where I think it's important for these guys to understand what is in your whole scouting, parents, this is part of your development process. It ain't the end. It ain't the do-all. Yes, it's fun, but you have to take it serious because this is going to show up, as Mark stated earlier, it's going to show up of what you did through the summer and spring on Friday night.
Right.
It's gonna show up when you get to camp, or you're gonna be better. If you left your high school this past fall and you was 2 deep, and if you don't come back and you ain't did what you did, you should be trying to push to be one.
Right.
By all the work and an investment.
Right.
And I think that's what parents got to understand too. It's no more little Johnny dad coming and get kids from our neighborhoods anymore.
Right.
You got to invest in your kid now.
Absolutely.
It's pay to play at the college level, and it's coming down. And
Yeah.
and you know, they just got to pay to get this development and get this rep.
Right.
And yes, you can go get a trainer, but you know he gonna only be, and that's part of the process. But he's only gonna be able to give you that peak competition.
Right.
So much.
Right.
In that environment.
Right.
You need that.
Yes.
Because you got to work on your skills,
Right.
but you got to go and see if it translates.
Absolutely.
And that's where a DR7 event come in at.
Well, I think it goes hand in hand, you know, from a scouting perspective, and I've talked about this before, but you know, from what I do, I look at it in 3 to 4 pieces. You know, we started out, you know, for me it ends in state. Now we come to the off season, it's camp 7-on-7.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm introducing myself, or I see a kid for the first time at a camp, you know, that's logged in.
Right.
Now we go through the 7-on-7 season. Usually I run into them a couple more times. We go through the camp season. I run into them a couple more times. We go into the spring when, you know, here in Texas and other states, they have spring ball. We see them then.
Yeah.
Go into the summer to the fall. Then we see them on Friday nights.
Right.
And then your film. All of those things go hand in hand, and this is how a scouting department or college coaches make up their mind about these kids.
Right.
They don't think that they're not watching these type of things.
Yeah.
You know, and social media now is so prevalent as far as when it goes into recruiting. It's you know, a notch on your belt that you need to have that going for you. All of those things, when it comes to scouting, wraps it up in a nutshell for everything that you need to do. The days of, you know, some still believe that if you ball, they'll come and find you, but you have to have some traits about you. You know, there's some get off the bus type of thing. Yeah, you know, you wake up out of bed with that type of stuff.
Yeah. You got to be crazy special.
Right.
Yeah,
you know, something
absolutely.
has to be special. You have to do something special.
Yeah.
You know, whether, you know, you're a specialist, you know, if you're a great kicker, a great punter, you know, a return specialist, something to get you in the door, to introduce you.
Yeah.
But those type of things, and then you mentioned the training aspect, you know, if you're not working, then you're going to be behind the 8 ball.
Correct.
The top tier guys or the top level athletes are doing something intrinsically every week or you know, in rotation. And you mentioned the investment part. Parents have to invest now for later.
Yes.
That's a part of it.
Yes. And the great thing about your investment for later is you're going to get paid tenfold that kid get that scholarship, because every kid now has an NIL deal.
Absolutely.
Or they have some type of deal that they're going to get paid. So you understand everything is no more a free meal anymore.
Right.
And there's no more, I understand the nonprofit mindset.
Right.
That's not many out there, because a lot of companies are not doing as much nonprofit as they used
Absolutely.
to. So you have to understand, and I'm not, whether if you come to us or not, I'm just saying you have to transition your mindset to select sports. I also look at 7-on-7 as a select football, select sport.
Absolutely.
Like you would look in, you know, basketball. And I know some people like the AAU model, some
Absolutely.
don't. But that's where all your top dogs are. That's where you're gonna get exposure. Is in that
Travel
model.
travel
team.
baseball as well.
Yeah, travel baseball. So you it's no longer the football is community sport anymore.
Right.
And because they're not playing tackle year round.
Right.
Even the youth tackle teams are traveling to different states because they want to compete against other dogs in that state.
Right.
And that's how they measure themselves.
Right.
And that's how they get that confidence. I was listening to a kid talking about, you know, I forget where he was, but he was 9 years old and got beat in Florida at an event.
Right.
And the dude just told him he was sorry.
Right.
But, you know, that kid now is at a college getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars now.
Yeah.
But somebody told him the truth because he was playing against top kids. So it's just those different things that we have to understand, that this is a process.
Right.
And you cannot microwave it.
Absolutely. Well, it's a process you have to trust, and it seems like it's a long, drawn-out process. And then also, you know, parents, you can't watch someone else's success. You have to have blinders on. Everybody's journey is not going to be the same, so you can't put all the kids in the same egg basket and think it's going to be the same. It's levels to it. You know what I mean? When it comes down to recruiting and exposure and things like that. Again, Johnathan Mumphrey from Dedication and Respect Sportz, DR7 tournament coming up this weekend, the first one, the Road to the Crown. Well, shout out to a few of the listeners today. Shout out to Ben Spicer, my guy Ben, KP, Coach Kevin Porter, Shout out to my guy Richard Browder watching and tuning in. We appreciate it. Drew Johnson down in Florida. He'll be down there, man, checking us out. So another element that we're introducing this year to go along with this is something for the linemen. And I want you to talk about that a little bit, kind of introduce that and what your thought process was behind that.
Yeah, so when you really look at if we're gonna move to a select and we're gonna move to a development model, right? Mm-hmm. Why we're not developing all 22?
Right.
Our linemen need development too.
Right.
I mean, to win state, like Coach Gate, to win state, he has to have those trenches.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have those trenches getting better every year, you're not going to continue to keep that state model there.
Right.
We can go back to football. You and I are big Colorado fans. We watch Colorado. I'm ASMU.
I just finished Coach Prime last night.
Absolutely. and the difference in them and when they went 4 and whatever and 9-3 is the trenches.
Right.
And what did he go get out the portal? He went and got the trenches, and that's the lineman. Right. So this is what I tell every lineman kid. You have to look at it, not to be just out there fun. Let's get you on a platform like what we're going to have with Drive 7 Bigs. Let's get you on a platform where you can develop and compete against the best linemen that's coming through the portal in the next several years on Saturday. So what we're going to be calling is all 22 showcases. That would be your moniker to know that we're going to have on the Road to Crown. That's when we're going to have linemen in the building, which if you look at the linemen on offense, offensive linemen, and then all your skill players, that's 11 people that play on a Friday night.
Absolutely.
And then you look at your 11 your D-line, and then your other people on defense, your DBs and things, that's 11 people. So we call it all 22. And we're all about developing them. So we went out and got one of the top lineman coaches in the country that we feel like, but, he played at the league. He played at, Coach Applefield played at Virginia, played at Rutgers. Then he, played several years with the Baltimore Ravens, blocked for our boy Lamar Jackson. So he has a great program down in Florida. But his character was right, his integrity was right. So we want the linemen to come out and let's compete just like the 7-on-7 compete. Right. And then we're going to give you exposure as well there.
Right. Well, I think it's a big thing. They work in the off season. Yeah. They need to have somewhere to come in and get that exposure as well. And I think it's a great asset. It's something we've been working on for a number of years, and now it's coming to fruition. I think it's one of those things where you have to be it's full circle. It is 22 on the field at one time.
Yeah,
you can't forget about those guys.
It's 22.
It's 22 on there. It gives those guys, and especially on that D line, that it gives them a face as well. Because a lot of times they don't get the notoriety, especially on the O line.
Yeah,
they don't get the notoriety on Friday nights. It's always the guys that make the touchdowns at the end. That's the finished product. Yeah. But it starts with those guys in the trenches. And the all 22, the Drive 7 Bigs, I think is a big piece that it'll give those guys a chance to come out and compete in a structured environment.
Yes. Yeah, and the structured environment, we're going to have, our scouts there writing about those guys, and we're looking to identify them. We're going to kick off, and the goal is to kick off in Houston, February 22nd, 23rd, at the Road to the Crown Woodlands, in that Woodland event. Yeah. But you say we've been talking about it for several years. When you come back to the dedication and respect, 2 words, right? Mm-hmm. You cannot launch a brand and don't think about who am I doing that with.
Right.
Do they fit all the characteristics? Do they check all the boxes? And the reason being is because you're trusting somebody, baby, with those people that's teaching them there. Are they going to leave the event better than what they came?
Right.
And that's what Drive 7 Bigs is all about. And if it don't happen that way, I will pull it because it's about how do we make sure we're teaching and developing.
For sure.
And I think some of this goes back to me being a youth.
Right.
As I think through it, and my wife, when our son came through, we didn't have that. I didn't have that ability to get somebody to train me on my position.
For sure.
So I think if I would have had these opportunities to train, I would have been even better than I was.
Right.
And I know the model wasn't there in the 90s.
Yeah.
But that was neighborhood guys that knew the game.
For sure.
That wasn't giving back.
Right.
We always talk about giving back. Knowledge is very expensive.
Right.
Wisdom is very expensive.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why we want to continue to push the envelope and create a model that, how do we help these athletes in an environment in a very nice stadium with professional coaches, with scouts, with our media. How do we give them all under one umbrella? And that's why we brought the All 22 showcase out.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's something that's it's going to make it unique. It also brings another value when you come to a DR7 event that you're going to get. When they come out of this is the thing that they're going to get. They're going to get quality reps and the exposure component to go along with it. I think that's the thing when you come to a DR7 event is you're going to get the competition and you're going to get the exposure. Hand in hand, they work together. I think that's what you got to do. You know what I mean? Right. If we can get that schedule pulled up, we're going to talk about some of these places that we're going this year on the road to the Crown. Again, we're starting in Texas at Waller. Then in February, the 1st of February, in the Villages. Talk about the Villages a little bit. We get a chance to go to Florida. This is one of the most beautiful complexes that you've ever seen. That we went. No doubt. It's a facility. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. The road to the Crown that's going to go to the Villages twice. Once at the 1st of March and the 1st of February. Talk about the Villages a little bit.
Well, when you really get into the model, you always want to be at an elite complex,
right?
The best you can get in that community, in that area,
right?
And so, just really, a guy called me out the blue.
Yeah,
I just called a guy. Courtney called me, and we started talking. He was pitching me on the facility, and I drove down when I was at an event and looked at it, and I was blown away.
Right,
it's a high school.
Yeah,
but they got the most beautiful complex that I've seen in the marketplace.
Right.
So I want to, I'm going to back up a little bit. The Villages be what they're talking about. But let's talk about what did we do to improve your exposure in 2025 through all these events.
Right.
One of the things we're going to do is we're going to bring we're going to find the best live game in 8U, 10U, 12U, 14U, and 18U. And we're going to live stream those games. We're going to call those our game of the week,
right? Of
the weekend. That's your pool play.
Right.
Meaning pool players on Saturday where nobody's giving exposure to those kids. They doing some highlights.
Right.
But we want to put you on, and we're going to stream you around the nation so college coaches can see you. And so your parents, if they're not there, or somebody out there can see you. But we have our live our stream team. Shout out to Jeremy and you guys, Rico and all the guys, play by play. We're the only circuit that's going to do live stream 8U and have play by play commentators going on.
Absolutely.
And then do that for each age group. We'll start that in February at the Villages.
Okay.
So that's going to be our kickoff. We're going to have our scouts live content. They're around watching other fields while we got you guys commentating.
Right.
And so that's a big exposure piece for Saturday that I just don't feel like anybody has made the pool play on Saturday that important.
Right.
And we want to make it important because we want those athletes to have an opportunity to shine. We're also working on a streaming partner right now. So we're just waiting on some things on that's a bigger platform that we can stream to so you can see it on a bigger TV or something. But,
absolutely.
We're going to be live streaming through DR Sportz and our YouTubes and our verticals. But that's important. And then on another exposure piece, we're going with the DR Roundtable, you and that crew, we're going to be able to have our DR Roundtable show on Sunday morning, which is our, our kind of game day model. That's another place to bring athletes and give them the ability to speak and do those things. And then we live stream all our championship games on Sunday with instant replay.
Right.
We launched that in 2022 and then, found out that we have to step up some different things. So we're bringing that back.
For sure.
And why do I talk about those things? Because I want you to understand the value when you come to the Villages. You're going to have one, if you go look it up on our page or wherever, you're going to have one of the most beautiful locations. Mm-hmm. Not only are we going to have scouts running around, we're going to have media guys, but we're going to be streaming with our stream team.
Yep.
Each age group.
Yeah.
So if you're in a certain spot and you got that team.
The spotlight's on.
Exactly. It's lights on. And so we're going to expose the unexposed in those environments. So if you want to get put on, that's the best place to get put on, that we choose your team. So we'll be reaching out as teams sign up and do that. So we just love being there in the Villages and what they do and their part. They're supporting what we do. And so we'll definitely be there. Actually, we'll be there 3 times. And the reason we chose 3 times with the Crown is because we didn't want to kind of keep moving around in some some venues are not at the same level.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. Well, not equipped to handle everything. Let's put it like that.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? But we do come back. The second kickoff in Texas is at state championship home of the North Crowley Panthers. Shout out to Coach Gates and those guys. Talk about Coach Gates a little bit, because I know you had a chance to spend some time with him last year at North Crowley, and we're at North Crowley twice, I believe.
Yeah.
Once in February and once in March. We also go to New Orleans, but just backtrack. First of all, congratulations to North Crowley.
Congrats.
To Coach Gates, and I'm working on trying to get him and Mrs. Gates on the show. Just a little tidbit in the next few weeks, you might be seeing him. But I think that place, the venue was awesome last year for the Crown.
Absolutely.
And now we're going back there. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So Coach Gates is first of all, Coach Gates, congrats, man, from Mumphrey and the rest of DR Sports family. That whole Crowley school district is awesome. Yeah. From the top down athletically.
Yeah, Coach Williams is great as well.
Yeah. They're just awesome people, and they've been very supportive on what we do. They understand the vision, and they understand what we're trying to do. Coach Gates, open, real guy, very approachable.
Yeah.
I think him and my wife became best friends more than anything.
Right.
And then his barbecue is the bomb over there.
Say less. When you see it smoking, pull up.
Exactly. He definitely got it smoking over there. Coach Gates, they was very hospitable, man. I mean, and anything we needed, the whole school district, Crowley School District. Yes, North Crowley won the state championship, but they represent Crowley.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a growing market, and Coach Gates had gave me a little tidbit that they was going to be doing some upgrades on the facility, and you'll start seeing everybody swarm over there now.
Right.
It will become the hot spot, not only because you got the state champs, but you definitely they've turfed all their fields.
Absolutely.
And they redid their stadium, and man, I'm almost kicking myself like we should have stayed in Texas another year. but we kind of made a commitment that we're going to move the national championship every 2 years, and give different states opportunity to kind of host that.
Yeah.
And so we went back to Florida, but we got some other movement on that. But those guys, and I just told them, hey, look, we want to stay there because we know you got enough fields. We know, we work great together.
Right.
And why should we continue to move around to other venues at this point?
Yeah.
I know it's, some people driving in is different, but that's where we want. That's where all the fields that we can find in the DFW area, Crowley has it,
right,
along with the indoor.
Right. Well, it's one of those school districts that's on the come up. They're pushing it, not just athletic but academically as well. Yeah. They put Fort Worth back on the map as well. But it's one of those things where support is support. Yeah. And I know from hanging around you and being around the coaching staff, being around that program a little bit, I know what they bring to the table, and it was a great event last year, and it'll be one of the best events definitely in the state of Texas for sure.
No, absolutely, and we want to bring that luck to them. Maybe they can go have this repeat. We're gonna say we brought a little DR7 magic over there to the North Crowley.
Absolutely.
We're gonna take a little credit if coach don't mind. But we love those guys over there. They put out some dogs, and and you know what? You're right. Everybody gonna move to Crowley.
Right.
I guarantee you're gonna see the movement.
Yeah.
But but it comes back to this. It comes back to competing. Now it's an environment that you have to earn your way on that field.
Absolutely.
Because he's got some dogs, and even if you are a dog, knowing Coach Gates, because Coach Gates is a flat out dog.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whether you want to admit or not, I can only see him in coaching mode.
Yeah.
But now you got to be competitive. Just because you got a starting spot don't mean the guy ain't gonna come up in there and compete with you.
No doubt.
And but that's the way college is now.
Absolutely.
College is, hey, just because you was a starter last week don't mean you're a starter this week.
Well, you go back to the small fish in the big pond again.
Correct.
And that's some of the things that you don't know until you get in that. And that's a whole nother show in itself.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
We're going to wrap things up here again. Johnathan Mumphrey here from Dedication and Respect Sportz. The first DR7 tournament of the week, of the season, of the year, Road to the Crown, headed to Houston this weekend, and then we'll be back in the DFW area in February. But shout out to everybody with DR Sports and DR7.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can find you at on social media.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. On Facebook, IG, TikTok, as well as YouTube is at DR Sports with the Z. And then our website is drsportswiththez.com.
Absolutely.
We definitely got that. Don't forget the platformdr.com. Go read some articles on these athletes. We have a 7-on-7 space, scouting space. We continue to push the envelope over there. You guys are doing an amazing job in your writing and your scouting. We're going to be dropping some new stuff and from a territorial standpoint to really hit some new markers and stay grassroots with that. On Twitter, it's dr_sports. Unfortunately, that got hacked, but we're going to be all right. We're growing back. We're bouncing back. Then on the platform DR, that's the Twitter there. So follow us on all those different platforms. You know, Mark, I'm honored that you have me here today. So.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, it's all about exposure, and we want to let you know and let the listeners know where to go to get that exposure.
Yeah.
When it comes to 7-on-7, DR Sports, Dedication and Respect Sportz. Definitely follow the platform as well. And the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete each week right here. Happy New Year. We're back. We'll be back next Wednesday from the Fishbowl Radio Network from 11 to 12. We out.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.